Welcome, my brother, my sister. This is Davi speaking. And now you are about to enter one of the darkest chapters of our nation by watching this video. We are now at this moment on the list of countries that impose restrictions on platforms like Discord. Just so you know, our name is right there alongside Iran, China, and Russia. Just so you have a reference point for comparison. And they keep doubling down. Very soon, here in Brazil, you won't have the right to private property. And people, when we say this, they think someone will come and say, "Get out of your house, it's mine." That's not how things happen, my dear brother. They have to make everything up. A good excuse, the media builds a narrative around it, and then a law comes along to make it harder for you to own it. For example, if you're someone who says, "I don't want a new car, I like the old car," if you don't have money right now, if you're that guy, I don't know, sold a bicycle, threw in a refrigerator, it's a stove, added some money, and got yourself an old car. You were there hoping to fix it up and keep it. It's over for you. Because now the fuel won't let that car run smoothly. It's adulterated fuel right at the pump. So either you buy the newest one or you have enough money to equip that car. And if a lot of people start doing this, installing a full fuel injection setup and so on, what are they going to do? An inspection requirement that's already in the proposal. Then your car won't be considered original, and it also won't be licensed. So what is this kind of law made for? To take away your possession without you realizing it in a seemingly legitimate way. To take away your property. What did they create? Your property needs to have a social function. If it doesn't have a social function, if some judge, even from a lower court, decides that it doesn't have a social function, you can lose possession of that property. And now, not long ago, they created a narrative as well that if you look how absurd this is, imagine you're talking to someone, right? You're not a bricklayer, you don't work in construction, but you're someone who observes. So you say, "Look, it would be good if this wall was done like this." Like that. And someone says, "Look, you can't give that opinion." But why can't I give that opinion? Because you don't work in that field. You don't have a degree in that area. It's kind of like that, right? It's something like unacceptable that the immoral person wants to do here in our country. You see, and this doesn't fit the narrative. I'll put it all out there so no one can say they're taking it out of context. I'll put the whole thing, him talking, okay? He's going to start with that lame excuse. They need some nice sounding cause to put out front. But what he really wants to do is prevent, for example, someone like me, who has over 600,000 followers here, because people saw it, saw the work, saw that the information that's been here for 12 years is true. It's not fake news. They subscribed, they still follow me today. He doesn't want to take that into consideration. If I don't have a diploma, I can't speak, I can't give my opinion about politics, about economics. I'll need a diploma for everything. Are you going to talk about medicine? Something about treatment? Are you going to do it? Are you going to talk about that? Are you going to criticize something that's out there? I know it. Well, right. Something that's out there. Mandatory. That was, I'm not going to say it, family. I've already gotten a strike because of that. But, it was experimental. But anyway, are you going to talk about that? You're a doctor, aren't you? Straight. He wants to ban it. So are you going to report the news? Are you a journalist? Do you have a journalism degree? No, you don't have one. So you can't talk. For you to do this now, you'll have to ask for permission. They will analyze your social media to be able to approve it. Yes or no? Do you think my channel, for example, would be approved? Obviously not. So this is a way they're doing it, using misinformation as a pretext, attacks on individuals, and so on. They're going to use that as an excuse to ban it. So that ordinary people like me, like you, can't just create pages, create channels, and say what they think, and that other people agree. That's what's bothering him, the truth. Right? Nowadays, as we know, the mainstream media has been losing credibility. You look at well-known journalists, then you go to the guy's page, and he has 20,000 followers, 10,000 followers. They can't connect with their own audience because the audience knows that guy is lying, is manipulating all the time. So even though the guy is famous, appears in every home in Brazil, when you look at his social media, there's no one following him. So this has made them really pissed off, right? And they're trying to censor, especially because the media is what legitimizes these arbitrary actions of the state, right? It's the mouth of the state. Imagine this whole system as a human body, right? the media would be the mouth of that body. So, my brothers, watch that immoral guy speak, and then we'll come back to wrap things up. Take a look.
What guarantees and upholds freedom of the press is good information. It's the assurance of good information. Which doesn't mean, as we all know, that sometimes information given may later turn out not to be true. Freedom of the press. It even allows the dissemination of false information that at first wasn't known to be false. But then what? There is a flaw in this process and in countless other cases. But once it's verified that the news is false, that there was misinformation causing serious harm to people, the media outlets themselves should be the first to correct this, and that's not what we see. President, it's not possible to talk about this topic without remembering what happened in Sao Paulo at the Escola Bais in 1994.
There's a great similarity with this case because a wrong report, a wrong preliminary report, destroyed the lives of 3 families. It destroyed the lives of the school owners,
Including the owner who died of a heart attack. The stress was so great, it destroyed the teacher's life. The teacher never found work again. And the driver who used to take the children, who was assaulted and never found a job again.
and the press refused to admit their mistake. Mistake?
They refused to grant the right of reply, and this kept being postponed. They refused to pay compensation. There are still lawsuits ongoing for almost 40 years. Look at the freedom of the press. It is guaranteed by the Constitution with the combination of freedom and responsibility. And you can't look at just one side.
Once misinformation is proven, once false information that harmed people, that harmed people's lives, is proven. Serious press organizations should be the first to address this, and unfortunately, just like the government, we see many cases.
Whether it's the very serious case of Escola Bas, where the journalist who did the story only apologized more than 30 years later, or this one, which is already 6 years old. Unfortunately, the press itself ends up trying to cover up its own mistakes. Just like in the previous case, where we stated or reaffirmed that substantive immunity is not a license to offend.
To commit crimes. Freedom of the press is also not a license to offend, to commit crimes.
That is not the use of a right. That is the abuse of a right. And I agree with Your Excellency that it's time for us to reflect on the issue of the journalism degree.
At that time, the Supreme Court dismissed it, even in the discussions.
Neither I nor Your Excellency were here, nor was Justice Zanin.
Justice Carmen, yes.
At that moment, yes, nominally several journalists were mentioned. The well-known serious journalists who don't have a degree. Look,
there's always a transition period, the recognition of those who are already in the profession. But just like at the beginning of the century,
Brazil allowed self-taught lawyers. People who weren't law graduates, that was set aside. With the transition rule today, with social media, where anyone can wake up and say, from today, I am a journalist,
and starts on their blog,
It's to attack countless people's reputations and hide behind freedom of the press. And clearly, we can't
normalize this and treat these people as serious members of the press, serious journalists. So, maybe it's really time for us to reflect with the transition rule for those who already practice the profession seriously.
But like any other profession,
Right. In Brazil, a regulation is needed to prevent exactly that.
and Your Excellency said, maybe the PCC, maybe the Red Command will start, right? Unfortunately, they have already infiltrated disinformation networks on social media, and then it's enough to label someone as a specialist or journalist for us to treat them as such. So, this is a time for seriousness, especially to guarantee what is most important in the Constitution on this topic: freedom of the press. Freedom of the press is one of the fundamental pillars of democracy.
If we allow the press to be contaminated by people who are not part of the press, who are not journalists, and do not fight for information,
We will be wearing down one of the great pillars of democracy. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And as I conclude my statement, I remind you that CONAR, which is related to advertising, has valuable experience in self-regulation. Maybe the journalism industry groups, I'm not sure about the names, but Aberte and many others could form a committee like CONAR did in advertising to review right of reply, so it doesn't take 10 years to process, which ends up being, as I said, a denial of the constitutional right of reply because of, among other things, abusive and unfounded appeals like the one we're judging now. Self-regulation would be a great experience. Who knows, maybe these ANJs could have a committee similar to CONAR, which prevents misleading or abusive advertising, and in this case deals with the right of reply. Maybe that would be a way to avoid frivolous lawsuits. So I agree with Your Excellency, the rapporteur. I now pass it to Minister Cristiano Zanin and then to Minister Carmen, Madam President.
If Minister Zanin asks me, no, I would like to. When the facts are there, my brothers, there's no arguing with them. What this man wants to implement here is prior censorship, right, to prevent people from speaking. And if you want to speak, you have to ask their permission, which obviously will be denied. So he says they're not for those who are already in, right? We let it go. It's that thing, right? Like they always do, for example, when they created the disarmament statute. Against the will of the people, they said, but those who already have a gun, right, already legalized, we won't prohibit it. But then after 3 or 4 years, when people went to renew it, they couldn't. You see, family? But why do they do it this way? So that those who already have it don't rise up, don't revolt. Just stay quiet, thinking that, heaven is close. So it's the same thing here. Obviously, they're already working in the field. They don't have a diploma because it's a fact that, especially in regional media here in my city, there are a lot, right? So these guys work and they're not graduates, right? But they're there. So those ones, they'll let stay because they're lackeys of the state. They only say what the editor allows. Only what the editor allows goes on air. So they're under control. The problem is us here, right? The illustrious unknowns. I come here and say what I think. Why? Because I'm one of the people too. So I see speed cameras on the street, put there to collect money, and the state creates a narrative that it's for vehicle safety to prevent accidents. And I come here and I know that's not true. I tell the truth here. So that's what bothers them, my brothers. They stop me. I believe, and I'm going to go out on a limb by saying this, but I think, and I don't have proof of this, it's just what I think. Okay? In my personal opinion, and I'm talking to you here as a friend, this is a conversation between friends now. It's not a video anymore. Forget that I have a channel. Forget all of this stuff here. I think it's just my opinion that Lula is going to win. I don't know how, but the system is going to re-elect Lula. And since they know there will be a flood of people criticizing the result, right? Pablo Marçal running as a candidate, even though he's ineligible. All of this is to legitimize it because it split the votes and so on. A forced victory for Lula. So it's already to stop the wave of criticism and install a regime similar to the ones in China, Russia, and Iran. He's already taking the next step now, because the system always works like that, taking steps forward. They are way ahead. When we start, they're already way ahead of us. So that's exactly what he's doing. He's getting ahead of what they're going to do there. I have no doubt people have faith, because that's what it is, right? Something you can't prove, in my opinion, right? And you believe it anyway. That's called faith. And a lot of people have faith in the system. And I'm not bringing anything up because the videos I've already made against this have already been taken down, right? And back then, I spent more than 25 days offline, so you can't talk about it. I even brought articles from the mainstream media itself, but you can't talk about it. Anyway, so the system is perfect. But for me, as a Christian, only God is perfect. Any system can be improved. Here, they don't accept improvements because it's already perfect. And people have faith that it's like that. They have faith that what they choose will be counted exactly as chosen. So that's faith, right? And there's no problem for those who want to have faith in the system, okay? And I'm also not saying that anything wrong happens. Let me make that clear here, just so I don't get arrested either. But that's it, okay, family? So, if you're listening to this, let me tell you right now. Start looking into flights, right? See which countries need what you know how to do. Davi, but I don't know how to do anything. They've demonized it. Yeah, there are a lot of jealous people, a lot of lazy people too, right, on social media. So they've demonized people who come and sell courses. These courses to get rich, whatever. That really is complicated. Now, professional courses, my brother. You learn how to install a Futeca. There are a lot of courses. I want to take one myself, but I don't have time. Otherwise, I would have already done it. Right, for Futeca installation, people are doing it. Serious people are doing it. And I don't sell just any course here. You guys know that. Right? But look for it. Our subscriber, thank God, is doing very well today. Brand new car. And it was a gift from his wife. He used to be formally employed. Really nice couple. They even came here to visit me. A heartfelt hug to them. They are an example for me and for many of you, and I'm sure they will be for you too. He used to work with a lot of difficulty, right? Formally employed. On his birthday, his wife, now that's a good wife, she went and bought him a carpentry course to learn how to make custom furniture. So he dedicated himself. He said, wow, my wife's gift. He dedicated himself and learned, because that's also a thing. Sometimes the course doesn't work because the person doesn't put in the effort. He took a carpentry course and learned. Today, he makes custom furniture like a pro. His work is top-notch. He's doing well in life, right? Thank God. So there are mechanics courses. There are electronic fuel injection courses. Especially now, the demand is really high, right? Cars are having issues. Injectors, yeah, they need cleaning. Anyway, right? There are all these problems. Fuel pump replacement. If you take a course like that, my brother, you'll make money. And this is needed all over the world. That's the language everyone speaks, right? Problems, my brother. Every nation has problems. So if you know how to solve these problems, yeah, a good plumber. My God, a good plumber today, family, is worth their weight in gold. Man, someone who knows how to do the plumbing right, the whole thing, knows the measurements of the pipes, what's needed and what's not needed. Stops leaks. My brother, when we think about a professional like that, that's when we realize how valuable they are. A really good bricklayer, man. A good bricklayer in the city is making more than a lawyer, man. So, man, don't come at me with that talk, because then I agree with the people who run the world. Unfortunately, I have to agree with them, you know? The guy is often poor. Because he's complacent. Because, look, man, there are millions of things out there calling you. You don't even know your own talent. And then you just act like, no, but I don't know how to do anything. You don't know because you don't want to learn either, right, my brother? Anyway, that's the advice from your friend Davi, okay? Not an influencer, a friend. Just another guy like you. Take a look, because the country is under a curse. The country is deluded, right? Then people will start complaining. A lot of people will end up in jail. The time to do something was now, right? To shut the country down, not to accept things as they are, but they're going to compete the way things are. A failed position. Accept it, right? They want to solve things with the system itself. I don't think that's the way, right? We have examples from other nations that I won't mention here. So that's it, my brothers. I'm already doing everything I can here to get out. Even the CB-1000 Hornet just came out, right? I was drooling just like that family. I'm going to buy this CB1000 Hornet now. I've always wanted to have a Hornet, right? But man, you know what I'm going to do, family? I'm going to save up and leave. Okay? That's it. Yeah, if I gave up, if it really didn't work out for my sister's medication, if it couldn't be exchanged, I would buy it, yes, and I would show it here to you. But my focus today, my work is all dedicated to this.
I think things are going to get intense here.
Brotherly advice, my brother. May God be with you. May he guide you.
All right, my brother. If there's any malice here, may God punish me for it. But I'm speaking with complete sincerity.
With you all, like a real brother. May God protect you and show you the right path. I'm out.